Before I started my PhD, everyone warned me that it is going to be hard, it's going to take resilience, it's going to be like, it's really going to challenge some part of me and so on. But I still wasn't expecting the kind of hard it would be. And maybe I'm just speaking from my own experience or from the experience of my clients, but I think that the hardest part of the PhD isn't the research and how hard that is, but actually how quickly it all becomes a mess and how complicated it is to actually untangle all of that and make sure that you have something that makes sense, because things fail all the time. And when I say all the time, it's literally all the time. Like, you cannot, every experiment that you do, every model that you try to fit, every data analysis that you try to do with some idea of how it's going to end, everything isn't like you thought it would be. So it requires a very, high sense of priorities and how to put it all together, so that eventually when you publish your paper, when you write your thesis, when you write that draft from that proposal, it actually makes sense. Because imagine, sometimes it doesn't even make sense to us. And I would say 80% of the time my research was I was like, okay, I don't even know what this is about, because it becomes so overwhelming at some point, because there is so much information and there are so many, I would say, things that you could do. Because as I said in one of the previous videos, you answer one question and then it opens the door to 5 more questions. And then out of those 5 questions, you choose to investigate one, but then you're like, okay, but the other 5, especially when you publish, reviewers ask you, okay, you investigated this, but what about this and this and this and this? And you're like, okay, I just had the mental space and capacity and the funds to do just this one thing. So it becomes quite messy very, very quickly. And this takes a toll not only on your mental health and your relationship with your research and your work, but it also takes a toll on how you structure stuff. Because at some point you are left with no time to think, because everything you're doing is just checking things off of to-do lists, which, by the way, become quite endless, I would say, because every time you cross something, magically 5 more things appear and so on. So the tricky part that I found from that experience, at least, as I said, this is my experience, this is how I felt throughout the process. The tricky part is, okay, now what am I even supposed to do next? Because as I said, you have so many things going on that figuring out what your next step is not only challenging, but objectively hard. And it can mark the process, the rest of the process of your research. Like, it can mark the direction of the next steps and the next maybe few steps, or even the outcome of your research. So especially if you do not have a supervisor who is very present, who can really guide you through the process, you are all of a sudden left with that endless to-do list of stuff that you are supposed to do, with a million questions in your head, like, what am I even supposed to do next? And a bunch of results that somehow should fit into that idea that you had at the beginning, but it's very hard to make it fit. So when time comes to share your research, not only to share your research, but also to continue with your research and then eventually share it, whether in your paper, in your thesis and so on, it becomes super, super hard to summarize it and to put it together into something that makes sense, into something that has a clear beginning, a clear middle, and clear end. And I would say this was the most challenging part when it comes to the PhD. So when people were saying it's going to be hard, I could have never imagined that by hard they would mean you are going to be completely clueless and yet feel like everything is urgent on your to-do list, like 100% of the time. That's this balance between you're going to feel you are not sure what you are supposed to do, and yet you are going to feel that it's urgent that you do it right now. So having said that, I want to tell you that I know exactly how you feel, because I was there and I came out of it. So if you feel that you are meeting with your supervisor and you're walking into the meeting and you don't know what to even say to that person, like, I don't know how to even handle what's happening with my research. If you feel that you are rewriting your introduction of your paper or your thesis for the 17th time and you still think it doesn't make sense, you don't even know what to write about because everything feels like a mess, or if you feel that it doesn't even make sense anymore because like everything that you tried failed, I want to invite you to join a completely free coaching call with me. I will leave the link in the description where you can schedule it, where we can discuss those next steps and how I can support you through that process so that you can finally finish that thesis, that you can finally feel okay with your research, and most importantly, that you finally can have the peace of mind that you deserve and that clarity that you deserve when it comes to your next steps in your research. So thank you so much for watching this video, and as always, see you in the next few days with another video. Bye bye.